The Toronto Blue Jays are in a dire stretch as the calendar is about to turn to September. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 129 of Buds and Blue Jays. This is your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell, joined as always by my co-host, Riley McConnell. And after taking an episode off, Riley, we are back. And I'd love to say we are back with a vengeance here, but the Blue Jays simply are not playing well against teams they should beat. We just lost 2 out of 3 to the Cleveland Guardians, and honestly, some of them in heartbreaking fashion in games we should have won. So we'll get to that in this episode here, talk about what is going to happen to this team. Do we have what it takes to get forward? And plus, we're going to talk about good player performances from from Davis Schneider, George Springer, others. We've got a bunch of fun stuff on this episode here, Riley. But I want to start this episode here today, Riley, with just a simple question. True or false? The Toronto Blue Jays are going to be a playoff team this year.
And you put me right on the stand. First dialogue of this episode. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say, as of right now, with the way we've been playing, I'm going to say no.
Wow.
It can happen. I'm going to say this is a Blue Jays friendly podcast, but I'm not going to sit here and, for the people who listen and watch the pod, I'm not going to sit here and lie to your face and say, oh, I'm so confident that we can turn this around, because Jesse, the way we have been playing as of late has just it's so, and first of all, you want to talk about a heartbreaking loss today when you take a lead like that in the fashion we did and then lose it in the 11th. Probably wasn't managed good on the pitching side. We can blame it on that. You can blame it on, possibly a base runner being out at third, probably shouldn't have gone in extra innings. There's a lot of, you can point fingers all you want, but Jesse, it's this. We play a team like Cleveland, and on paper, we should beat them. We weren't facing Tristan McKenzie. We weren't facing prime Shane Bieber. My hat's off to the Guardians pitchers. They're far above what they should be. These guys that were in AAA probably 16 months ago, at least for the most part, a lot like the 3 starters and whatever. But I mean, man, Jesse, we have to win that series. We have to win that series. We're 2 games back, 2.5 games back of a wild card spot right now. Jesse, we can make the playoffs, but we simply just can't put forth this effort right now. I mean, we've been making errors, man. We've been giving up home runs. We gave up 3 or 4. I think it was 4 home runs in game 1 to the Guardians, and they're a team. I think either the bottom team in the major leagues or the bottom team in the American League at their home run total. So just things like that, man. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what the Jays did to the baseball gods. I thought we've been making a lot of steps in the right direction, Jesse. As of right this second, it's Sunday night, recording after a 10-7 loss in the 11th inning to Cleveland. As of right now, this team's going to have to turn it around next week for me to believe that we're going to make the postseason. We're simply not good enough right now.
Yeah, I got some numbers to back this up, Riley. According to Fangraphs playoff odds right now, Riley, it is a 50.7% chance that the Blue Jays make the playoffs. I think that number was as high as 70-something, maybe even low 80s just a month ago. So the Blue Jays have really been in a free fall. And honestly, Riley, it really does make sense. If you look at the whole roster course of the season, we're going to talk about it later in the episode, but Vladdy finally hit his 20th home run. I think he had 30-something at this point last year. That's ridiculous. The pitching has been phenomenal. And at the start of the year, coming into the year, if you told me Jose Barrios is going to bounce back, Yusei Kikuchi might get Cy Young votes, for goodness sake, we would have been like, the Blue Jays are a 100-win team. We've got this no problem. But the fact it just hasn't, and we've had some very disappointing players' performances across the board, which really have really stamped this team, Riley. I still think, on paper, the Toronto Blue Jays do have a good enough team here that they will and should squeeze into that last wild card spot and make the playoffs. Even if that is the case, though, Riley, I think our expectations coming into the year was that this team should be winning an AL East title this year, not battling tooth and nail with these teams for the last and final wild card spot. So I would say this season's been a disappointing one, but I still have some hope that we can turn it around.
I think when you look in terms of wins and losses in regular seasons, I think this team comes up shy of 90 wins, and that's a failure. I think this team maybe not destined for 100 wins, but I think this team's destined for maybe 95 wins. And we've had
that seems high, right? Like 95, yeah. We'd have to play damn good baseball to get that.
Well, and with the guys in this clubhouse, Jesse, if Alek Manoah doesn't decide to fall off a cliff,
right?
If we actually have I'm not saying have 30 home runs right now, but if I tweeted out today because it was kind of a little bit salty, like when Vlad hit his home run, like as a team, yeah, we're probably hitting home runs, but you look at the guys individually. I think Springer's having a kind of a renaissance of a year. I think George Springer's been tremendous all year.
We'll touch on him a little more later.
Yeah. And I think guys there's underperformers and there's overperformers. But it outweighs one another. There's more people underperforming than there is meeting expectations or overperforming.
Boy, if this team does not make the playoffs, Riley, we are going to have a very different conversation about this team going into the offseason and all that stuff. Let's hope and pray that is not the case, because that is not going to be a fun offseason for us and for the Toronto Blue Jays. Riley, John Schneider gave a quote, I think, after game 1 of this series that basically said, it's time to go. It's time to put the pressure on. It's time to go. Kevin Gausman mimicked something similar, saying things like, this team is too talented. This team has all the players in the right pieces to go. We need to go on a run, and now. I think we've kind of already touched on it a little bit, but losing this series against Cleveland hurts. How confident are you that the Blue Jays can actually go on a run here?
I'm with Jesse. From what we talked to pre-pod, I'm quite confident that we can go on a run.
Okay.
But basically, I'm not saying have a players only meeting and say, listen, guys, we've dropped the ball, because I don't know who's taking ownership and who's not.
That's the problem, point, right? Do they not have a guy in the clubhouse who can do that?
Someone's got to. I don't know if it's got to be Springer. I don't know if it's got to be Chapman. I don't know if it's got to be one of the young guys. But you basically have to say, look around the league. Look at the competition. We're almost in September. We have a good run of schedule where we can really win some ball games. It's now or never. Because after the next 3, I'll be honest, in 15 days, I think we'll have a really good idea where we're going to stand come the 39th of September or whatever it is, whenever the regular season ends. I think this next half month, if 500, simply put, 500 ball is not good enough over these next 4 or 5 series. We really need to amp up our level of play.
Mm-hmm. So I guess before we wrap up and we really get deep into the series that just was, on a scale of 1 to 10, confidence level, the Toronto Blue Jays will be playing October baseball.
5. It's a 5 right now. They give the odds in Vegas or whatever 50.9%. I can't say 509 out of 1,000. So 5 out of 10 for me.
My brain says 7. My heart says 3, Riley. So that's
we'll meet in the middle at 5 apiece, buddy.
Sounds good. All right. Leave a comment below for you guys watching on YouTube. How confident are you guys in that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to make the playoffs this year? Because they are going to need to make some turnarounds, and quick. Let's dive into the series against Cleveland, because there was still some positives to come out of this series as well. And we'll start getting into the game recaps. Game 1, the Blue Jays lost this one 5-2. They took a run early thanks to a George Springer home run, but then Chris Bassett gave up 2 home runs of his own, a solo shot to Bo Naylor and a 2-run shot to Ramon Laureano, who had a very good series, not only this one, but last time the Blue Jays played Cleveland. He added another RBI later. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a home run to get the Blue Jays closer, but ultimately were not able to get it done as the Blue Jays fall 5-2, mustering only 6 hits in the process. Game 2, the Blue Jays needed a win, and they came out of the bats early after giving up a run in the top of the first to a solo home run off Hyun-Jin Ryu. The Blue Jays were able to score 3 thanks to a Bo Bichette RBI single and a Davis Schneider 2-run home run to give the Blue Jays a 3-1 lead. They would add 2 more in the 4th before making things interesting until they got to the 7th, where they put up another 3 spot, thanks in large to part 2. Another Davis Schneider RBI, and Dalton Varsho has actually been continuing his hot ways that we talked about last episode, had a couple RBIs here as well. The Blue Jays win this one 8-3, and a heartbreaker, Riley, that happened Sunday afternoon. The Blue Jays went back and forth, took a 2-0 lead, then they were down 2, then they were up by 1 thanks to a Davis Schneider 2-run home run, just to give up 2 in the 8th, but just to tie it in the bottom half thanks to Dalton Varsho, to ultimately not being able to get a winning run across in the 9th, or the zombie runner in the 10th, and ultimately give up 4 in the top of the 11th and can only muster 1 in the bottom half to lose this game 10-7. So we kind of touched on it already, but after the series, Riley, the Blue Jays are 10.5 games back in the AL East. That's not happening. We are not winning that. And we're 2.5 games back of Houston now for the last and final wild card spot, with very close there between Houston, Texas, and Seattle. So we kind of need those teams to beat up on each other just a little bit, but still Blue Jays on the outside looking in, Riley. So player performances, who do you want to talk about first? Who's got your attention?
Well, let's just, let's do sunshine and rainbows. Let's because it is a little gloomy out with this with the state of this team as of right now. Let's talk about a young player who has stepped up this year and has probably had one of the best starts to a Blue Jays career out of anybody. Davis Schneider. 2 home runs in this series. He, as you say, single-handedly beat the Guardians in game number 2 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored. He's a great hitter. He is one of the few players that on this team that you feel confident in with his plate appearances, as young and inexperienced as he is, because there was a time where he looked like he was on a bad slide with his swing and miss and stuff. But hey, it's like you're going to go through some hiccups. You're going to have to make some adjustments at the major league level. And I feel like Davis Schneider has done a really good job. I don't know, Jesse, if it's kind of having a lot of confidence or not understanding the stakes, but he seems like a very comfortable player at the MLB logo. And I think that's very important when he takes his plate appearances. You would never know by looking at him that he is, very much a freshie in the MLB. You would say, yeah, he's probably maybe played 3 or 4 years, the way he handles plate appearance. I think that he's an extremely bright spot in this team right now.
Yep, I agree.
And Jesse, I'm going to just nip this in the bud right here. Like, he has to, at this point, after this series, if he doesn't play every day, I don't want John Schneider managing this team if he's not going to put.
Bingo.
He's
Absolutely.
like, this is a no-brainer at this point, Jesse. This is a no-brainer. This is where we needed to start the episode talking about, listen, we lost the series and Davis Schneider is still red hot. He needs to be in this lineup when we play the next series and beyond. Until he goes on a major slide. Look, Whit Merrifield went on a slide, and we kept him in the leadoff spot for some time. I'm not saying move Davis Schneider up in the order, but his bat needs to be in this Blue Jays lineup because he's actually, not only is he winning us ball games, he's giving us a chance to win those ball games that we're losing late in games, which I don't want to have happen, but at least he's producing runs, man. And that's something not every single Blue Jay in the 9 can say.
Like, isn't it ridiculous? This Toronto Blue Jays team has really struggled at the plate on offense. And then we call up a guy who immediately sets a record his first week up in the big leagues. And then we play him 3 times in Cleveland. And we just decide to let him sit on the bench. I think that is so dumb that you don't even know your own team if you're going to do that. And I think it goes to show when they put Davis Schneider in the lineup, he was hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th. Like, if on the days he plays, you have him hitting there, clearly you think he is one of your top half of the order bats. And if you think Davis Schneider is one of your top of the order bats, then why in the world is he not playing every day? I'm with you, Riley. Like, I think this is ridiculous. And on top of that, too, like, yes, I know the Blue Jays haven't faced a lot of lefties, but do we really need to see more Cavan Biggio? Like, I get it. I know he was good for a stretch there, and he does make some good plays. Fine. But I think you and I are agreeing, even against a lefty, we want to see Davis Schneider more than we want to see Cavan Biggio. And especially more than Espinal. Like, don't even get me started on that.
Don't even know. You want to talk? Yeah, there's, and if we're playing on the who's on second, and we played it last year for about 4 months, or even this year, who's on second with Whit and Cav and Espinal. Well, I mean, Whit can play the outfield now. He's got some versatility, and Davis Schneider actually had a minute in there in left field in this series, but still have him on second base. And Springer DH and can move Whit in the outfield and whatever else. We're set. We're pretty well set. Espinal, in my opinion, Scott, like, I want him nowhere near the field right now.
Send him to the moon. Yep.
I mean, but all I'm saying, like, all in all, I think without bashing any of our own, like, I don't care who's out of the. I do care who's out of the lineup to make a spot for Davis Schneider, but the guys he's competing against for a spot, like, it's Davis Schneider every day. Righty, lefty, doesn't matter. Bat him 6th, 7th. I don't care. put him in the lineup because he's hitting the ball. He hasn't shown us that he's not capable. He is capable. So why, I don't know why we're having this runaround, Jesse, and you nailed it exactly. You want to put a guy in the lineup that's third. I mean, that guy who's hitting third in your lineup is an everyday player. This isn't some weird, cruel test. I mean, plain and simple. I'll stop it right here because it sounds like a broken record. Davis Schneider's got to be hitting for us, or I don't want John Schneider managing this team and making those decisions, because those aren't smart managerial moves. You can't explain those. Those are inexplainable moves he needs to play.
Yeah, Riley, I can't wait to clip the hell out of that one and put that up there. But I agree with you. You've got it. Just one more note on Davis Schneider, just to put in that how good he has been, Riley. Since this, for the second half of the season, Davis Schneider has played 11 games. He has, I think, 12 RBIs now. That is more RBIs in the second half than Kevin Kiermaier, Bo Bichette, Matt Chapman, Santiago Espinal, Alejandro Kirk, and Kevin Biggio. And he's done this in 11 games, where those people have done it since the All-Star break. If that's not proof you need this guy in your lineup to get more thump, I don't know what is. But we've made our case on Davis Schneider. I think all of Blue Jays Nation knows about Davis Schneider. Get him in the lineup more, and this team will perform better. Another player, though, Riley, moving on to something else now, is George Springer, who really caught my attention in this series here. He went deep in game 1. He went deep again in game 3, and he had a shot, Riley, in the bottom of the 8th inning. He hit it 400 feet, dead center, top of the wall, and just didn't go over. You could tell he really wanted that. Maybe just if he pulled it just a touch, we put that over there, the Blue Jays win this game, and our tone of the episode is completely different. He also made a catch in right center field, Riley, which was vintage George Springer. Might have been one of the second or third best outfield catches the Blue Jays have had this year, and we know how good the Blue Jays outfield defense has been. George Springer, to me, and he's 17 home runs, 17 stolen bases now, too. So he's almost 20-20, which would be the second time in his career he's done that. He's got that itch, that drive, that go-to factor. Like, he doesn't want to be the reason this Blue Jays team isn't succeeding. And I've noticed that out of George Springer more than I think I've noticed that out of any other member on the Toronto Blue Jays, that he is determined to do his part, at least, to get this team to the promised land.
George Springer will be a 2020 player come season's end. Do you know why, Jesse? Because this is a new George Springer. This is a resurgence for a guy who I was very unsure of last year. And honestly, if you were to replay the career of George Springer, I think he could possibly win multiple Gold Gloves out in right field. Yeah. I feel like he does a great job at tracking the ball from that. And you know what? It helps when you're 6'4" to lay out for balls like that. Yes. He has a great, if you want to say a guy has, I don't know if this is a real term, a guy has a good vertical jump. He has a great horizontal jump, leaving his legs. Really does. Yep. He's a very athletic guy. And Jesse, I wish he hit that home run today.
Me too.
The tone of the episode changes. The wild card standings look a little bit different. And, you know, it possibly makes me feel a ton better because we're playing 500 baseball over our last 6 games, and we're simply not doing that right now. But as far as what Springer did in this series, he supplied great power. He's surprising me on the base pass. I'm sure he's surprising a lot of people. And his defense looked great. Like the tools that he is and like what he can produce for this team, he's not the reason. I know he doesn't want to be the reason we lose, but he simply just won't. It's not factoring in. He's too valuable to this team, even with that horrific drought. We still managed to win ball games without him. I know there was a time when he was first on this club around the COVID shortened season where we just couldn't win without him. Now we're at a point where we've won games without him being a prime factor in those games. Like George Springer has simply been above average for most of this year. And it's equaled out that we watching this games and we watching George Springer, that like he's the season for, you know, at the start of the year, I'm not thinking too much about George Springer as far as his individual accolades and individual stats, but he's set to have a tremendous year. Probably his best season as a Blue Jay. And as far in every category, defense, base running, and, you know, maybe not in the OBP department, maybe not in the OPS, but all around, this is a great season for George Springer. And he is not a reason we're losing, and he's keeping us in ball games.
Riley, let's talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And he did hit a home run in this series. It was good to see, but that's 20 on the year right now, Riley. In his MVP season and caliber season in 2021, I think he had 35 at this point. going into that time. And this is something I brought up mid-season that I haven't talked about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. yet, but he's our team leader too at 20 home runs. The Blue Jays become the 27th team in baseball to get a player to 20 home runs. That is terrible. That is not how this team was built. The Blue Jays were supposed to mash. The outfield dimensions at Rogers Center changing were supposed to increase offense for this team. And frankly, it just simply hasn't. And this is a game we are playing mid-season. I'm just going to read off like 4 or 5 guys, Riley, who have more home runs this year than Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Oh, do it. I was thinking about this all day, and I hope these names are guys that weigh 175 pounds, man. Read them off to me.
Yeah, so this is coming into the game today when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. only had 19. He did hit his 20th home run of the season today, but Gleyber Torres of the Yankees, who's having a pretty miserable year, has 20 home runs.
Sure, yep.
Eddie Rosario, who I'm pretty sure is a part-time player, has 20 home runs this year. Jack Suwinski of the Pirates has more home runs than him. 2 rookies, Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll, have more home runs than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. What else? Nolan Gorman, Cal Raleigh, some guys having good seasons, yes, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should be better than all of these players on this list.
Well, he absolutely is. Corbin Carroll might be the most inexcusable one. I mean, he's a speed guy. Henderson is making a case for AL Rookie of the Year. Cal Raleigh's going to be a guy that's going to hit a ton of switch hit home runs, and 95% of them from the left side of the plate. And that's Jesse. These numbers are inexcusable. And hey, it's not like when they hit a home run, we don't hit one. Like, we can hit as many home runs as they can, Jesse. We're just not doing. I know that's the point, man. We are like, as far as teams, I don't know around the league. There's probably teams that are underperforming as far as the power department go. There's no way that anyone is under expectation as much as the Toronto Blue Jays as far as that goes, at least for our superstars. I mean, the amount of home runs that Kiermaier has and Davis Schneider are adding to our team totals, but the guys that should have home runs just aren't producing. Like, I honestly, at this point in the year, let's just call it September 1st with a month left. I know that's not the case. These next couple games, could really go in our favor and we could put on a lot of runs. But I mean, I was really hoping by season's end I could say, oh, Varsho had a 20 home run, Chapman had 20 home runs, Springer, Bichette, Guerrero. I feel like those how many other guys I named, 5 or 6, they should all have at least 20 home runs. As far as the 30 home run category goes, maybe just Vladdy. I would have loved to see I'm saying what the expectations are, though, Jesse. Jesse, I tweeted out today, like, I don't think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to hit 30 home runs. I am dead set on that. As far as 20 home runs guys go, Bo will get there. Bo will absolutely get there, and I think Springer's going to get there too. As far as other guys, like, Chapman's out because he hurt his middle finger again. And Varsho's just been far too streaky. Like, we might have 3 guys with 20 home runs come season's end. Oh,
Belt might get there, but yeah,
Belt might get there too. But he might also those 7 of those hits might be doubles or something, because you never know with. And then there's a guy like Danny Jansen, because he could get there. He could easily get there if he played. But we'll see. Hey. You know what? For the personal, I just care if we win games, but we're still just lacking power, man. I know that, home runs are flashy things. They get you paid big money in Major League Baseball, and people come to the ballpark to watch home runs. I mean, as far as the more tedious fans like you and I, Jesse, who, also like the smaller things in baseball. It's like, NASCAR fans that go to a race just to watch the crash. There's the same kind of people who go to a baseball game just to see the long ball. No one on the Blue Jays is exploding with home runs right now. We're really missing that this year. It's not only affecting the stats on their baseball card, man. It's affected us through the course of this season,
and that's where the problem is, right?
And it's a huge issue, man, because Jesse, this team is built around that. We changed our stadium for a reason. I don't know if it's for the aesthetics. It's a beautiful ballpark now, but I mean, there's a huge hole in this team's game, and that's part of the reason.
Riley, out of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s 20 home runs this season, how many of them do you think he's hit off the fastball that he hit to the pole side?
A fastball he's hit to the pole side.
For a home run, yeah.
Let's say 4.
2. He's done it
2.
twice, Riley. And if you're not attacking the fastball, what are you doing?
Waiting. Yeah, you're sitting around waiting, Jesse.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why he is having the season he is having here. Let's get onto some news and notes here. The Blue Jays did actually get bit with the injury bug a little bit here. Bo Bichette left game 3. It seemed to be that quad injury that he just went from the IL on has re-flared up again. John Schneider just did say it's been a little too much stress on, and he has been playing every day since he came back. He was removed and is considered day-to-day for the time being. Same with Matt Chapman and his finger injury, which you mentioned earlier that he hurt in the weight room. He said it flared up a little bit on him with finger inflammation. He is also considered day-to-day. Eric Swanson threw a pitch and then immediately went down and grabbed his back. I think he has some type of spinal injury. He's been put on the IL. Jay Jackson was recalled and promptly got the loss in game 3 today. John Schneider does seem to think it is only a minimum 15-day IL stint for him. And then just some other things that caught my attention here. Tim Meza gave up his first earned run since mid-June. You know, that's what happens when you walk the leadoff man. Don't do that and other stuff. So out of those things there, Riley, is there something major that catches your attention?
I'm just going to run through it right now. We can't afford to lose Bo for an extended period of time. I will just say that.
Correct.
Chapman has 148 strikeouts on the season and not enough power to back that up. And as far as, hey,
30%
dude, he's the guy on my back, man. Matt Chapman is my favorite player in all of baseball, has been for 5 years now, has been since 2018. He's been my favorite ball player. And he's having a god-awful year. He even had a couple errors. He's not going to hurt us being out of the lineup, but I would sure like to see him back. Tim Meza, before leaving that game, had an outing where he struck out 3 batters in a row, didn't allow a base runner. Meza's not a guy who strikes a ton of guys. Eric Swanson had an appearance before he was removed and struck out 3 hitters in a row. I love to see that because he's not a guy who typically gets a ton of swing and miss. And we lose him at the wrong time. And then as far as the Jay Jackson blown goes, he gets called up and, gets kind of thrown in the fire, and he got burned big time. Tim Meza is still an elite left-handed relief pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I think it sucks they didn't get it out recorded. But I still have all the confidence in the world. I'm still rolling with Tim Meza in a lot of different situations, man. He's been stellar this year in our bullpen.
So am I. I don't want to go talk about this at all, really, but I just have to mention it on the show. Santiago Espinal in game 3 today got a 3-0 pitch, a massive red light, especially when it puts the go-ahead run into scoring position for your big boys. He swung at it, missed it, went for 3-1, and then he promptly hit into an inning-ending double play. And then he made an error on defense in the next thing. I think we mentioned it earlier, but he can go anytime. Thank you for the All-Star appearance last year. You did great. The Blue Jays don't go on that run in 2020 without you, Espinal, but I'd say it's time for you to go.
Yeah, we just, in this clubhouse right now, and yes, Biggio has not been as hot as he was, but he has far more versatility than Santiago Espinal, and there's no way that Kevin Biggio makes that same plate appearance. As you said before, if that's a grounding into double play situations, Jesse, who on this team is not grounded into a double play?
Kevin Biggio.
Being Kevin Biggio. Yep. So you tell me, with the way that Davis Schneider's been and Whit Merrifield being a staple on this team, out of those two, if one has to go bye, because at some point in his career with Kevin, like I'm not saying I think he's gonna be a Blue Jay forever. I think he's gonna go home to Texas and either play for Houston or the Rangers is my thought with how his career is going to shape up. Sure. And hope he has success that way. But for what we need right now, the answer is not Santiago Espinal, sadly. 1 year removed from an All-Star appearance. And actually, if my memory serves me, Jesse, the second half of last year until right now for Espinal has not been good. He had a good first half in 2022. I'll give the guy that, but he's not what this team needs right now, especially feeding into the errors on defense. Because Vladdy had 2 errors. Chapman booted a ball around and then made a bad play. Matt Chapman's made a bad play in, I think, each of the last 3 series.
He has, yeah.
Whether it was detrimental to a loss or not, I can't think that hard and that far back. But the way we've been playing on defense lately, in the infield, because our outfield has been fantastic. We don't need Espinal contributing to booting balls around. He doesn't just look at Matt Chapman. Chapman loses a handle on a ball that he gets 99% of the time. Sure. Then Espinal goes, well, I'll let it happen to me. You got to like bear down. And when you watch your teammate make an error, you do not follow up with an error.
Yeah, especially when you're on the fringe of the roster too, right? Like you need to show you can do this or else you're going to Buffalo.
Yeah, and we missed the series against the Orioles. I'll say this just because this is the only takeaway from the Orioles series that I actually cared about, was that if Bo Bichette was on shortstop, he maybe makes the play. He also had his best defensive play as a Blue Jay in that Baltimore series.
Yep.
If you haven't looked at it, it was in game 1 of the series where Brandon Belt won it for us in extras, basically. In the bottom of the 9th, Bo Bichette, amazing backhand stab. I don't know how he got any power behind that throw to first. But virtually, I'm not going to call it a game saver, but it's the next closest thing to a game saving put out, man. It was a heck of a play. And we can't miss Bo Bichette, and Espinal just isn't the guy.
Yeah, we're running out of time here, so we don't have much time to discuss the starting pitchers' performances in this series. I'll just read out their lines. Yusei Kikuchi, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Hyunjin Ryu was good, gave up 2 home runs, but 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, those 2 home runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. I liked his start the best out of the 3. And then Chris Bassett, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. 30 seconds or less, Riley. Do you have a thought on any of their performances today?
Same with you, Jesse. Bassett could be a lot better. Barrios, same deal. For me, Hyunjin Ryu has been surprised the heck out of me, and I hope he can keep this up because he's really filling a big hole in this rotation right now.
Excellent. So, Riley, we talked at the start of the season, or start of the episode here, that the Blue Jays need to go on a run, and the schedule does lighten up a little bit. So at least there is that. Our next 4 series, Riley, at home against the Washington Nationals, on the road in Coors Field against the Colorado Rockies. We're going to your second home, Riley, the Oakland A's Stadium out at the Coliseum, and then back home against the Kansas City Royals. All teams that are either second worst or last in their respective divisions, Riley. What's our expectation? What's our record here against these 4 teams?
Well, Jesse, assuming they're all 3-game sets.
I think they are, but let me confirm that.
Basically, like, if we could walk away with 3 losses in the whole shebang, that'd be great. If we could sweep one of these series and win the rest of them with 1 loss in each of those series, preferably we sweep the 4-game series. That would feel great.
Yeah, 3 against all of them, so 12 games.
12 games. I would love to go 10-2. If we go 9-3, I'll be feeling pretty damn good. Anything less than that, it gets excruciatingly worse reaction from there.
So if we're 7-5, 7-5 is not good enough.
7-5, I'm still ripping my hair out, man.
Yeah.
7-5, I'm still. We are not. Yes, we are above 500 in that stretch, but at this point in the year, a stretch like that, we need to go on a run, buddy. Mm-hmm. We need to go on a run, man. 12-0 is perfection. I want to see if we're 9-3, that would be amazing. I don't know what I expect though. It can happen. It can happen, Jesse.
Yeah, because after that we get Texas, Boston, Yankees, Tampa. So we really got to make our statement here in this series here to wrap up the season to prove that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be a playoff team, Riley. Before I get into episode 129 and the cool Blue Jay stats to end the episode here, was there anything else you wanted to make sure we mentioned about this series in Cleveland?
No, let's forget about like you said, we got some competition here in the next couple weeks that hasn't had the best success. We should jump all over that, man. That's all I'm going to say. Let's put this Cleveland series behind us and let's start the train rolling, and let's start it rolling tomorrow.
Yep. I agree 1000%. That'll do it for episode here today, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. Our numbers are growing, and we want you to be part of the first 500. So if you like what you heard here from Riley and I, or if you are a positive Blue Jays fan or a negative Blue Jays fan, hell, we'll take you too. Come on aboard and come join us in the rest of this episode. To end this episode, though, we're going to do what we've done for every single episode. This is 129 of Buds and Blue Jays. So I've been giving some fun little Toronto Blue Jays related stats with the episode 129, and there are some familiar names in this list. Number 129 is the amount of home runs our old friend Teoscar Hernandez has hit as a Toronto Blue Jay. Number 129 is the amount of starts that Marcus Stroman made in his Blue Jays career. And number 129 is the Blue Jays the all-time hit by pitch leader, and that belongs to Dave Stieb, who has hit 129 batters in his big league career. But Riley, the fun part, and I think we're going to have fun with these two names here, number 129 on hitter war and pitching war. And Riley, I kind of cheated for the hitting war one because the player I'm going to read is actually 127, because the number of 129 is a guy who just keeps fluctuating up there. So I'm going to try to get you to guess this player. And if you want to guess, Riley, or
I would love. There's no way I could name out of the thousands of players that have walked into this organization. I'll need a decade and maybe a position.
I'm going to tell you he is a Blue Jay currently on the roster right now.
And this is a hitter.
This is a hitter. Yep.
This
He's
is
just
a hitter.
Moved into 127 on the franchise history list of position player award.
And he has been bouncing around with a couple guys. So let's go with, is this possibly Santiago Espinal?
No, it is not. His number would have dropped a little bit. He is around this range, though, Riley. He's a second baseman / left fielder. We've talked about him a lot this episode.
Whit Merrifield.
Oh, no, it's not Whit Merrifield. Try again.
Second baseman. What? Davis Schneider, then.
Davis Schneider is 127 on position player war.
He's moving up in the world. He's almost top 100, man.
Mm-hmm. And that was coming into the game today where he added 3 more extra base hits and another home run. I bet you that number is higher. In his 11 games played, Riley, he's already accumulated 1 full WAR on Fangraphs, and that doesn't even include his defense, which has been lackluster. So I've been impressed with Davis Schneider, and I thought when I saw that number on there, that was quite impressive. And then on the pitching side, Riley, number 129 in pitching war. This was a relief pitcher. He pitched from the Blue Jays from 2004 through 2009 before moving to the Dodgers, Riley. Blue Jay for 6 years, and from our childhood era.
This, I believe, is Jason Frazier.
Not Jason Frazier, but definitely that era. Jason Frazier was a closer, got a lot of saves. So
2004 to 2009, and not Jason Frazier.
Pitched in the bullpen with Jason Frazier quite a bit. He was a right-hander, 6'2" right-hander. I remember this guy threw pretty hard. He was above his time as a hard thrower.
6'2" right-hander. Wow, I'm drawing a blank, and if it's not a lefty, it's not BJ Ryan. No. So I
didn't get many saves. He was definitely a middle reliever for the team, but it's a name you know.
I know it's a name I know, and it's gonna stump me. And there's probably people screaming. It's probably a good immaculate grid one. And I know this one for the Dodgers. It's not Morrow.
Not Brandon Morrow. He closed for the Cubs. He was a starter for the Blue Jays for a while.
Yeah, I know he was a starter. All right, Jesse, it was just taking too much time. Yeah. Give me the answer, and then let me hit myself in the head.
Brandon League was the guy.
Brandon League.
Yeah. Battled injuries for quite a while.
That's, you know what? It's funny. I won't hurt myself too much on this one. I know Brandon League and Morrow, it gets me screwed up because their first names are similar, or some would call it the same. And they were pitching around the same time. One guy in the bullpen, one guy starter. But yeah, I don't feel so bad about that. Yes, if I do that again, maybe with more of a level head, maybe I do better. But yeah.
Brandon League's Blue Jay career was wild. In 2005, ERA over 6, then under 3, then over 6, then under 2, and then 4.38 in his final year at the Blue Jays. Very wild stuff from Brandon League, a name I remember from my childhood. Riley, anything else to add before we get out of here? Call our episode?
No. Nope. Remember to do your immaculate grids. Remember to cheer on the Blue Jays. And man, put Davis Schneider in the lineup. I'm talking to you, John Schneider.
That's right. If you're listening, John Schneider, please.
He will not be listening to this podcast. Sadly.
He should be. The team would run better if he did.
He might benefit from it, and we're not the only ones screaming at him for that. And I think we're pretty easy. We're definitely, pretty conservative in what we say on the light side of the Blue Jays. But honestly, if John Schneider doesn't play Davis Schneider enough in the next series, then I probably want him gone. That's a huge miss, Jesse, and I hope that isn't the case. That's just, we need to win some ball games, man.
Amen. And let's start tomorrow. That'll do it for episode here, guys. We'll see you after the National Series to hopefully recap a sweep and a winning series for our Toronto Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.